we're not really paying attention to things. And here's where it gets really twisted on out there. I did a show on my channel called the Friend Economy, because all of the companies that are dealing with robotics and AI, their number one thing that they want to push first is that every human being befriend or have a robotic entity or an AI that is their friend. And we brought this up joking around about the Tesla bot in the house becoming a family member, but it's much more than that. They went from the phone that they, uniquely designed and named the operating system in it a droid. And they got you used to carrying around a robot in your pocket, basically, that told you stuff, that gave you directions, that was helpful. Now they want it to be to the next level, where it's not only, doing tasks for you and helping your life be better and easier. It wants it to interact with you. It wants it to give you opinions or sway your opinion about something or whatever. And they're targeting kids. And that's why, we're kind of talking about it. It doesn't matter. Everybody from now on is being trained in this fashion, that there's going to be an AI entity involved in their life in one way or another. Soon they will be replacing teachers at school. Literally, like the teacher will be an AI robotic entity that sits there and does lectures. And then it comes back. But this is the scary part. I talked about synthetic DNA and building basically human races from scratch now. But not only that, you have synthetic DNA in the form of nanobots. And now we're looking at articles that are telling us straight up robots they can now grow and repair themselves by consuming parts from other machines, which is where I was saying that would be the point in which you're no longer needed, when the robots can now repair the robots or even create new robots. So now we're way off in sci-fi land. And then
Ransom, could I stop you for just a second there?
Yeah.
Because that same thing you just talked about with augmentation, this whole thing with the MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, they're encouraging us to all get wearables. I was reading a couple articles today, like, why would they want to track everybody's bodily health? It's going to be more like a Minority Report for insurance companies, knowing what you consume. So I'm having some white wine tonight. It was super hot outside, and, some Pinot Grigio to like cool down for a minute. Like, it'll know that I'm consuming alcohol if I have a wearable on. So this whole thing with insurance companies, just like, well, they're predicting what your health will be like by what your body temperature, are you doing any exercise, what kind of things you're consuming in your body. All that same thing goes right along with what you're talking about, the AI in the office, in the classroom with you. It'll know what you're thinking, how you're thinking. Are you going to be a good citizen, a dangerous one, a healthy one, a bad one, or whatever? And you're going to be classified by the machines.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
Scary.
And not only that, they've been planning this for quite some time. It's the reason that you have to give over your driver's license information when you go to the convenience store to buy alcohol or tobacco or marijuana in the states that have it legalized there.
I'll put a piece of black tape on the back of your license so they can't see the barcode, and tell them, you can see my ID is valid. That's all you need to know. Well, they don't need to scan the back of it.
True, but that's us weirdos that want to keep our privacy to ourselves, But for the vast majority of the populace, they're just okay. They've already been trained and got used to doing that. And what they don't realize is they've been saving and storing that metadata for exactly the purpose that you mentioned. They'll hand over that metadata to the insurance companies in the near future, and they'll deny health care to people that develop certain cancers or other diseases that are associated with the use of tobacco or pharmaceuticals or alcohol, or, it may be even that you worked in a specific industry and they might count you, you may have mesothelioma now, and we've already settled all the cases. You might have got glyphosate exposure, but we've already settled all those cases. You might have got poisoned by this, that, or the other thing. And you're absolutely right about the wearable peripherals. That's been long part of the plan, to connect that to the droid in your pocket, to the robot that is now the nanny state, literally wanting to live with you. And I might, stretch that idea to be a violation of the Third Amendment and some of the other ones. Basically you have a robotic soldier in the near future quartered in your home that's reporting everything you do, whether or not you're violating laws or breaking rules of some kind. It all goes there. But then back to the peripherals, they've been getting humans used to being assimilated with the technology, whether it's like the little Apple rings that keep track of your health or the watches or what have you. And it's all going to be sold in a benevolent way. In other words, to help you live longer, easier, better, less stressed life. That's the package that they're sending. But in reality, they're building an infrastructure that's, a nightmare and imagination of the nanny state gone transhuman. And here's one right here for people that were, like us, that were talking about all the electricity and power needed to run and process these giant server rooms to host the AIs, the metadata, all of this other information that has
And
to
the
be
crypto
stored.
blockchain at the same time, and
Right.
your lives and houses. And it's just not going to be enough electric.
Yes. And we also talked about, there's a lot of people that are rural and they live out in the middle of, the countryside, and they really don't think this transhuman agenda is going to affect them. But let me argue to the opposite. Natural gas, which is found everywhere where you grow food and just about everywhere in every rural area, not to mention the fracking mines and other things, those are other resources they're already looking to fuel the AI race. So don't worry if we don't have enough electricity. We'll use other natural resources to power this transhuman revelation. And then here, AI, are Americans worrying about the wrong jobs? Here's a little chart I thought we'd go over because it's not very big, but
No, you can
it
click on that. It'll open up.
yeah.
Maybe. I
Open it.
usually open an image in a
Okay.
new window. Yeah,
Yeah,
every
there we go.
time. Oh, is that from Statista? Yeah, they're pretty good usually.
Here we go. There it is. But this is a, versus thing, adults versus the experts in the field of AI, what they believe, which markets will be, taken by AI. And you can see both cashiers and the AI experts are at this number 73, which is tied. So both of the groups, the people that
Oh,
work in it and the people that are planning to replace them, both agree that, they're going to be replaced. Here's truck drivers. Only 33 on the score here. I don't know if this is percentage, but let's just call it a number here, but guess you can clearly see the difference. But the people, the truck drivers, they got a score of about 33, believing that their job would be taken. But the AI experts put that number at 62, meaning that they're much more confident that those jobs will also be taken by artificial intelligence. Journalists and AI experts about the same. Software engineers and the AI experts about the same. Lawyers very cocky, confident that they won't be replaced by algorithms and AIs.
they're going to
But
be the first ones to go. I'm telling you that it's already borderline of them being completely useless now.
right, and the AI experts have a much larger number, about a little more than 10 in their spread. Musicians, a lot of them believe they're going to be taken, and less of the AI experts think that. But we already know this is happening. I brought that up last week. One of the number one at the charts was a completely AI fabrication, based on human music and imagery and stuff. And they made a fake band. They made fake art for it. They made songs. People liked it. It went to the top of the chart. So they may be wrong right there. So teachers have a high number of 43, and AI experts don't think so. But I was just talking about that. All you need really is a computer, and children are already being trained to use the chat GPT and all of that to do their work and take it to school in the first place. So why not just skip the middleman, homeschool yourself with the robotic aid, and it teaches you. And I'm sure you've seen a science fiction movie or two where that was the case, where they had a family robot that also instructed the young ones on information and stuff like that. Medical doctors, pretty cocky, think they're not going to be replaced. The AI experts don't think so either. However, I might, argue that we've already been seeing the outcome of that, where there's machines that are now doing surgeries, and not only that, AI that's deciding the medication and pharma that you might need, and keeping track of what you didn't get, if you catch my drift.
No,
But
right.
then,
Also, they've done a couple running tests, if you will, and it seems the AI performed even better in diagnosing things that were, doctors come up with different opinions and things. Where the AI seemed there, I forget the test. I'd read about it a couple weeks back, but the AI had actually performed better in just not surgeries, but just assessing cases on what person what the ailment they have. So they're already at least at that first diagnosis office visit thing where AI is more productive and faster and better. But once you take those next couple steps, where it takes human reasoning and maybe some surgery, et cetera, that's where they might keep that. But that initial assessment, like where you go to the doctor now and they take your blood pressure, hey, what are you doing? What are you making? How do you feel today, et cetera? That AI wins hands down.
Absolutely. Actually, I just watched a video. I forgot to pull it up for our show, but it was an algorithm AI that used the one X-ray that someone got, and then it turned it into a bunch of different directions, and got to look at it in ways that they couldn't do without taking a lot more X-rays. So the AI already saved radiation exposure to the patient. I've seen all kinds of AIs that diagnose, like you said, better diseases based on just questionnaires and looking. There's algorithms that can just take a video of you and diagnose you and tell that you have some health problems.
This is not a toothpaste. It's a revolution for your teeth. Remineralize, strengthen teeth, all natural ingredients, essential oils, minerals, salts. Alpha Vedic Dental Solutions System. That's alphavedic.com/civilization. And not a lot of people are talking about this. We always see the storable foods. But what about dental care during these same emergency situations? So take a look at what they have, alphavedic.com/civilization.
That's all absolutely true and happening. So it's hard for me to believe that neither the AI experts nor the people that actually work in that field think that that's going to happen, because they're being they're trying to be positive and think, you know what, I'm not going to go talk to a robot about my healthcare. But I hate to tell you, it's already implemented. You can ask veterans. They have a computer called Watson. Ironically, if you know the history behind IBM and the name Watson, I'm not going to get into that. But if
we should definitely not, Ransom.
But anyway,
friendly show. Family friendly there, YouTube. Family friendly advertiser program.
Right. So, but that computer is named Watson, and it decides who it's going to cover as far as veterans that have been hurt. It decides their coverage. It literally decides whether or not that they're going to die or not. So you can take that how you want it. But let's move over to something a little different. Drones, AI, robotic pickers. We were talking about that last time, and now it's just flooding the headlines. I've seen it in at least 5 different news sources where they were pushing 1 or even 2 articles about this. This is where people get replaced. And like I said, the future of the world doesn't need a big populace if you have enough robots to take care of a smaller populace. You see what I mean? It becomes very convenient and very user-friendly if there's not millions of people to eat. If there's less people to eat in each little area with an amount of robots, they can easily take those jobs away. And not only take those jobs away, but I might add tens of thousands of years of evolution of humans alongside with agriculture and domestication of animals there. And it gets into the whole thing. I mean, it's really happening, whether people want to believe it or not. But if you have a big, farm and you're sitting there and it's hard to get work and people can't show up, or, they got baby drama mama, or they drank too much and came late, or they got some kind of other habit where they don't show up, or they disappear on payday for 4 days, the robot ain't going to do that. So that might sound like a lot better option to somebody that wants to hire robots and have less overhead costs when it comes to the human cost of doing business. And they don't have to hire people that are not legally here, so they don't have to worry about breaking laws in that way. And if they educate themselves just a little bit, they'll know how to work these machines just like any other machine in the past. The farmer or the person that actually uses the machine knows how to fix it, knows how to use it right, knows when it's going to break or what it can do and what it can't do. They know better than the manufacturer almost, because they're the ones actually out there using it. So let's get into a little bit
of Ransom. Could I stop you? Because I remember, and can you go back to that picture again, or even the YouTube channel. So after this is 2 weeks ago when Ransom and I were talking about this. So I was taking our 2-hour show and I was cutting it into a 30-minute segment to put it up on the Adapt 2030 channel. So I was looking for different robotic agriculture machinery right now. And I kid you not, there was one that scared me. It looks like a spider. It has 4 arms coming out of it. The head is very aerodynamic. It's sort of a diamond that morphs into sort of a hexagram on the top of the head. But each appendage on each arm, and it goes through the field rows, has a laser on it that can pinpoint plants. Now, they had some larger thing that rolled on wheels that did the same thing. It also had a picker arm where it could trim leaves that were dying off of there. And then the other sets would have spray nozzles on them so they could either do insecticide or some sort of fertilizer application coming out of what you consider like a spider's legs. Each one of those had a different application, exactly the same laser pinch arm for dead leaves on this four leg or whatever it is. Second leg back had the one that could be interoperated, that between, depending on what it was spraying an insecticide or was it spraying a different kind of fertilizer on it. So the appendages of this thing had different operations as well. And they were crawling, and these things were big, big enough to fit between rows and creep along there. Like if I had never seen that, and I suddenly was thrust into a farm field position, there were hundreds of those giant spiders walking around out in the field, that really would scare me. But I encourage you to watch these 30-minute episodes that, I cut for Ransom and I to present our content in a 30-minute, segment. And also you can sign up for our show notes. And I just put those out before the show, about 8 bullet points from last week's episode. So we try to get it down into bite-sized nuggets to continue the conversation. We run through an enormous amount of information with the websites. I'm going to pull up a bunch of stuff from my screens as well, more of the climate side. But head over to civilizationcycle.com. Throw your email in the bottom there, and you get right on our mailing list. You can swipe that QR code that's on the screen right now. And our playlist is right there. So we're episode 556, I do believe. And you can just listen to it in audio format if you want to. If you're, going to work out for a minute, you're preparing dinner, you're driving to work, make sure you pop up our episodes and take a listen to them. They're pretty much cut at 30 minutes, as we do, and I do, the post-edit on our 2-hour programs. Again, I try to keep ourselves on the line of the censors that would allow us to continue to distribute the information without being flagged as inappropriate, or as the videos removed, or this type of thing. But please support us by doing that, and also buymeacoffee.com/civilization cycle. If you like the content, please buy us a double espresso right over on the edge there. Oh, look at that. We're all like, weirded out. I'm not all jacked up because it's just too hot to be drinking a lot of coffee right now out here. It was 95 and like 90% humidity and 95 degrees today. And you could barely move. I was breathing. I was like, I'm breathing an atmosphere on a different planet. I really felt like that today. Like when I was breathing that high humidity and that high heat, I really felt like I was on a different planet, breathing a different atmosphere. So like drinking coffee in that time, not so conducive. But anyway, yeah, go. I'm sorry to cut you off there, but if you look at that thumbnail that's on the Adapt 2030 channel with Ransom and myself in that 30-minute episode, I featured that spider-like robot that's creeping through the fields now. So these 4-wheeled things that you think look like normal farm machine, now you got something that's actually walking like a spider, going through the fields and touching in the rows and getting up in there with these appendages and doing its thing as it goes along. And they're very efficient. They're small, and they're scary.
Yeah, they are. I've seen that thing. I've been actually looking at a lot of different designs. They put these little cute ones out. Like there was one in China. I have that one.
Was that the strawberry thing came down and people picked strawberry off the raft?
That's all this kind of scary shit to me. Oops. The scary stuff to me. They want to put out this cute stuff like this. Like this guy.
Those robots are doing parkour and kind of running all kind of cross country races that'll beat me and you in like a world record time now. That's, they'll run you down. You think you're out in the countryside, you're not going to get run down by an AI robot. Imagine 10 of those chasing you down, as looking for an individual with all their like high tech sensors and thermal imaging and all that stuff, and they can shoot at 500 yards.
Right, and then you give them some solar panels that just let them stay up in the several months up in the air. It's like this one, this solar-powered 236-foot Sky Dweller aircraft flies around boggling 90 days without stopping. This is the future. Like I said, they're going to go with alternative fueling methods. That green movement everybody thought was going to make humans No, that was just backup redundancy energy sources for the robotic revolution. So
Bait and
solar,
switch.
nuclear, gas, they're going to use it all. All the fossil fuels, everything will be used. No, I just pointed this out also because we're talking about the surveillance state that comes along with this. And people, I brought this up at least 10 years ago on one of my first YouTube channels that there was a drone um, that could stay up for this long on gas. It was like a Predator drone. It was a little bit bigger. It was called Argus, and it had like 10,000 little Apple iPhone cameras attached to it, and it could take a high definition video for days over an area, and that was in the late 90s. So you can imagine what kind of stuff is really floating up in there, and I wanted to get to that with a little bit of woo-woo right here.
Please remember civilizationcycle.com and also buy me a coffee /civilization cycle.